we're going to be really boring today. Okay. Maybe not. Hey, how's it going? Or not. You don't have to say hi to me. That's fine. I'm just kidding.
So we actually get to make a living touring, being spoken word poets.
We're poets.
Which is pretty cool for us. But we often travel to new places all the time, so we have kind of, like a routine format that we go through and kind of play things by ear, but we like to do a lot of like in the moment things. So by a show of hands, how many of you have seen us before? Okay.
Okay,
cool.
That's like a majority of the room.
Okay.
Hi. How many of you have seen us more than once? How many of you dream about us? Okay, all right.
Okay. So
okay.
we were kind of thinking that, so we have like plan A, plan B, and like plan B.5 for when we do stuff in Kalamazoo, because we have like stuff that we want to communicate and get across, but we also are constantly writing new stuff, and we don't always get a chance to kind of try those things out because we get hired out for specific reasons. So we're going to perform some brand new pieces for you tonight, since most of you have seen us before, but we'll also do a couple of some other ones that you may have heard.
Some favorites, we think. So isn't that exciting that we get to be poets full time? Oh, come on now. No. Don't pity. I love it. Everyone's like, yeah, that's stupid, man. Why would you ever want to be a poet full time? Well, this is a pretty interesting thing, I think, in our world and our society at the time. I mean, think about how lucky we really are. We were like bred and grown in a community that said, yes, you too can be poets if you want. Not just poets, but this is what we get to do all the time. I get to wake up every day going, I'm going to go out and motivate some people. Tomorrow we're flying out to Lincoln, Nebraska. It's exciting, but we also have to get up at 3 a.m, and then we're flying back the same day, the same night, and we just, are constantly all over the place doing things like this. But how cool is that we get to be able to do this? And this is really because of this community. So we really have a lot of thanks to give to you. But beyond that, I can also say that we've also had a lot of support from a lot of foundations and other people, especially in this state. And one in particular, the W.K. Kellogg Foundation had approached Gabriel and I a while ago now. How many years ago?
2010, so 4 years.
4 years, wow, really?
I know.
Oh my God, sorry. 4 years ago, they approached us and said, so we know that you guys have been through a lot in your lives and that you've come through a lot of struggle to be where you are today. So we also know that Michigan has been going through some struggle. I mean, I don't know if any of you know, but Michigan has not economically been doing so super hot since 2008. I mean, things are getting a little bit better, but if you listen to the media, I mean, they'll tell you all the things that have been wrong with this state for such a long time. And the W.K. Kellogg Foundation had said, hey guys, we're kind of sick of hearing all this negative stuff about the state all the time, because we truly believe that struggle can make you strong. You are examples of that. Can you write the poem for Michigan?
Now, I don't know how many of you, get a chance to turn on the news or read the paper, but, a lot of times it's easier to sell people fear or sell people, negative things. And it's not that they're not true, or it's not that we don't need to know about them, but, we don't tend to highlight oftentimes great teachers or great school systems or great organizations as much as we tend to bombard people with how terrible things are going. And so we get to travel the state, pretty much weekly into different parts and work with different organizations and youth groups and community members, and we see a lot of positive. And so our perspective on this state sometimes differs from a lot of people who are just in one area who hear what's going on. And so when they came to us, he said, we really appreciate that, because do any of you know what the Kellogg Foundation, the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, have you ever heard of it, or you're familiar? Okay.
They're not the ones that make cereal.
But it was started by the same man who started Kellogg's cereal, okay?
The cereal company's across the street.
And currently, the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, which is located in Battle Creek,
Really?
is the 5th largest foundation in the world. okay? And they do work from, Michigan to South America to all over.
Hi, you're late.
And they do a lot of things, and their main mission is to help other people help themselves. And so they approached us and they said, listen, we'd really love it if you could help us inspire people around the state, with a more reality of what you see happening in Michigan.
And I was thinking, okay, so the 5th largest foundation in the world wants 2 ex-juvenile delinquents to write the poem for Michigan. Oh, thank you. Well, it's true. It's honest. And so we were super excited to take on the charge.
So we'd like to start tonight by honoring our state and honoring you, because this was a piece that we were super excited to write. Actually, we had been talking about writing it for years before, but they kind of gave us the extra push and motivation to write it. So in honor of you. We all know what a cliche is.
It's something that at one time used to be novel, but has been so overused that it's lost its original meaning.
Like when life hands you lemons.
Make lemonade.
And right now there are people in our own country trying to make my state,
your state,
our state, into a cliche. And I'm beginning to think we've forgotten our original meaning.
Forgotten who we are.
What we're made of.
And what we believe in. We are a state that doesn't need to wait for life to throw us lemons.
Because we've got enough local farmers to grow our own.
And we don't need any sweeteners. See, here in Michigan, we know how to bite down on bitter times.
I believe in a pure Michigan, surrounded by one of the largest freshwater sources in the world.
But filled with the saltwater sweat of those who keep it flourishing.
We are the cradle of life, neatly perched somewhere on this mitten
or scarf
we call home. And right now we're about here.
See, this is a part he always pretends to not know where he's pointing. And then we go, here. But when we sing the national anthem, we are the ones closest to everyone's heart. I believe in a Michigan where the people know how to use
this as well as this, and where every child has more than just a right to an education, but a reason to wake up and go
to a place where teachers are more valued for the gift they provide to our children.
Because we don't just produce amazing automobiles and fill your bowls with cereal in the morning. We produce children with piston-powered minds and give them red wings so that one day they can teach their own children how to fly.
Across sleeping bear dunes or underneath Detroit overpasses.
We believe in a Michigan that can hold us up with the strength of 100 pictured rocks.
Even while the Dow Jones crumbles around us, we have been weathered by the worst storms and been carved out by glaciers over millennia.
I believe in a Michigan that is green and blue
and bright.
Where over 150 lighthouses will make sure that no one is ever left out in the dark.
A Michigan where no matter how far out you go, you will always be guided back to shore.
Because we are the brightest star on the flag,
wrapped up in the blue waters of our beliefs.
And we believe in a Michigan that has 5 seasons:
autumn,
winter,
spring,
summer, and road work. But don't worry, if you don't like the weather,
just wait 10 minutes.
It'll change. And that's the beauty of being here, in a state that is too alive to stay still, too proud to stand still.
While everyone gives up around us.
We are Michigan, Michiganders, a state that is stunningly beautiful, born from fire and ice.
A survivor of natural and human disaster that has pushed us forward even when we have wanted so badly to hold back.
It is not a warm and fuzzy mitten.
It is an open hand slap to the face.
A reminder that even though we are surrounded by water, we are not an island. We were never alone. We are more than a state song or boundary lines, and we are definitely more than a cliche. Because I have not forgotten our original meaning. And our state has a warrior's name worth remembering.
It comes from the Ojibwe, Michigama, meaning great water.
And we believe that our ancestors knew something we've forgotten, a belief. That you never give up on an underdog.
That family comes first.
And that home is where the heart is. We believe that we will never forget who we are.
We believe
that
we will never forget what we're made of.
And most importantly, we believe that we will never forget that Michigan deserves to be believed in.
I want to be on TV with that. I do. Wouldn't that be cool? I think it'd be so sweet. Well, at least for me, I'd love it. So, I got to be honest with you. I love being playful.
That's it. That was great.
That was it.
We're out of here, folks. Thanks very much.
All right. Shut up, man. All right. So, I mean, in reality, hi, how are you? Sorry. She was like, don't talk to me. So, I mean, I truly believe in being playful, and both Gabriel and I actually have playful spirits, you know. Before I started doing this full time, I was a high school English teacher for about a decade of my life, if that dates me a little bit, and I loved teaching. I loved being able to create an environment where there was a lot of play going on, because then in that environment you could create trust. I think laughter is an amazing thing, because laughter is the first step towards gaining some great trust. So thank you for laughing at my jokes, even if they're not funny. I don't know what you're on, man. But seriously, and the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because this playfulness and this energy, it doesn't come from a life that hasn't experienced any pain or struggle. I mean, actually, as a matter of fact, we laugh as humans because we also know hurt and loss. We find joy and appreciation in things because we know what it's like to lose things along the way. And I say this with you because that's where our histories come from. If you've seen us before, then you know that we're both survivors. That rightfully today, all the odds could have said both of you should be dead. You shouldn't have even woken up today. And yet, for some reason, we were blessed. And just in the same way that you could say the number of empty seats that are here in this room right now could represent the number of people really close by in our community who did not wake up this morning, filled with the spirits of those people. So imagine how blessed we all are to be here, to be alive, to be breathing today. See, that's what I learned when I met Gabriel. Because he had a message that I wasn't quite ready for myself to experience until I met him. I don't know if you know this, but if Gabriel were to take off his shirt, no, he won't. Someone back there goes, okay. If he were to take off his shirt, you see what looks like one scar. It starts at the top of his chest plate and travels all the way down past his navel. I'm going to be honest with you in that it is the largest scar I've ever seen on a living human being. And I didn't really know what that story was about, but I do know that it was something that made him realize how lucky he was to be here today. How lucky I was to be here today. Even though my scars were on the inside, we shared something. And it was through these scars and through sharing our difficulties and our joys that we started writing and making this path. And now we get to step on stage and basically share our personal lives with people, make a living out of it, and watch what it's like to transform other people's lives. And I really have him to thank for it.
So I'm going to present a piece that I just finished maybe a month or so ago. It kind of came from a lot of self-reflection. A lot of the work that we do in our writing and the workshops that we do, I don't know how many of you know, but 5 years ago we co-founded a nonprofit organization called Speak It Forward. We do a lot of writing workshops in the community. We work with Lakeside Academy, which is a treatment facility here in Kalamazoo. We run a program on the east side of Kalamazoo that's just opened to East Side Teens. We run a program with the court systems, with 8th District Court downtown. We do programs in Detroit. We're doing a program in Nebraska tomorrow. We do a lot of this work, but a lot of that, it's guised under the idea of writing, but really what a lot of it is kind of personal reflection and self-understanding and self-awareness. And what Kirk was talking about, the scars that I have, I was diagnosed with cancer when I was 18 years old, and by the time they found it, it had spread throughout my entire body. And I had to go through 4 cycles of chemotherapy. I had 4 major surgeries, dozens of minor procedures. They had told me that if they had found it a month later that there would have been nothing that they could do, that I'd be as good as dead. And it was really a very impactful time in my life because I realized just how precious life is. You know, at 18 and being a man, and I was in the military at the time, sometimes, you know, you feel a little invincible, or you think things will last forever, or, you know, you're not really worried about those things. And it really helped put things into perspective with me. And it also helped take down a lot of the toughness the unneeded toughness that I was carrying around with me all the time, feeling like I had to live up to some expectation that people placed on me. And it broke all that down. And I've been doing we've been participating at this new open mic that runs every Tuesday night up at a place called The Mix in Kalamazoo, and we've really tried to foster a creative environment where all the artists are challenging each other to continuously write new things. And so I'm going to share a new piece with you, and really the concept behind the piece was just how no matter where we go, we take ourselves with us. And as simplistic as that sounds, it's really the idea that everywhere we enter, we bring all the things that we've been through into that room with us. And sometimes we're aware of it, and sometimes we're not. And so this was kind of just a cool exploration into that concept for me. So it's called The Man in the Room. When a man walks into a room, he brings his whole life with him. If you ask him, he'll have a million reasons to be anywhere else but here, and if you listen, he'll tell you how he got to where he is now. He'll tell you how he got lost along the way and how he was too stubborn to ask for directions, how his journey has aged him faster than he thought it would, and how he wished he would have taken things slower because of it. He'll tell you about the time he thought he was an angel and about the time when he realized he wasn't, about how he was flawed because he wants so much more than what he has, and how he is damned because when he got it, he wished for the way things were before. Because when a man walks into a room, he brings his whole life with him. If you ask him, he'll have a million reasons to be with anyone else but you, and if you listen, he'll tell you every mistake he's made in his relationships. Like the ones that started with a weak handshake, or the ones that ended with too many four-letter words that he couldn't take back. He'll tell you about the one that got away and how he spent too much time online trying to figure out where she is now. He'll tell you about the friends he turned his back on and how they didn't care enough about him to put up a fight when he left. He'll tell you about the times he used the word love to get into the bed of trusting women, and if he's honest, he'll tell you that it was too easy. That too many fathers leave holes in the hearts of their daughters that are easily filled by men who know how to use shovels and clean the dirt out from under their nails before they ask the next one to come over. Life isn't always as beautiful as we tell our children it can be. See, when a man walks into a room, he brings his whole life with him. If you ask him, he'll have a million reasons to be somewhere else, and if you listen, he'll tell you what he has learned so far. He'll tell you about the days when you'll be forced to make decisions that will affect the lives of those you love but haven't met yet. He'll tell you that when you reach an age, you'll realize that being a man isn't about respect or strength. It's about being aware of all the things you touch, about all the things you break, and about how hard it is to put them back together when even one piece gets lost. When a man walks into a room, he brings his whole life with him. If you ask him, he'll have a million reasons why he shouldn't be here. And if you listen, he'll tell you that children were put here to teach us, that his daughter's laugh is his favorite sound in the world, and that all children, every last one of them, are selfish, that they have to be in order to survive in a world like this. And as men, we need to gauge ourselves by the children we raise so we know which roads to keep traveling down and which paths to abandon. Because real men face inward and take responsibilities for their actions. Real men know that one day they will have to examine the person they become and answer for the shattered pieces they left behind. That all men will face a decision that will stare back at you with ancient eyes as if they've seen the poor choices most men make, and it will call you a coward, a loser, a fraud. It will hope that you crack and run from your destiny like that selfish child. But a real man knows that these moments are able to show us who we really are. That struggle is what allows us to see what type of a man we were raised to be, and whether or not we will make our fathers proud and their fathers before them. Because when a man walks into a room, he brings his whole life with him. If you ask him, he'll have a million reasons to be anywhere, and if you listen, he'll tell you that even though he no longer considers himself a religious man, he still prays every day before he eats, because he knows that there are things that even the smartest scientists can't explain about things we cannot touch. And he isn't afraid to be thankful for the things he can, like his daughter's heart. He'll tell you that for her, he once stomped the earth, cracked it open, and boiling lava poured out. He'll tell you he walked across it, barefoot, like Jesus walked on water, because that's what men do when they grow so deeply into their stories, they become them. Like intertwined vines that get twisted over time, running across the surface of our skin, overgrown from age and lack of tending. He'll tell you that things are harder now than when he was a child. He'll tell you that he used to walk to school uphill both ways in 6 feet of snow, and if he lived in Michigan, he might not be lying. He'll tell you about horror stories he can't remember and about how he still dreams at night that one day he will forgive himself. Because when I walked into this room, I brought my whole life with me. And I did my best to shake your hand with conviction because of the strength I've gained over the years from carrying my baggage proudly. If you ask me, I could give you a million reasons to be somewhere else, but more importantly, I'd tell you why I stayed and that I'm just thankful that you are here with me. That while our paths may sometimes divide us, we all ended up here together. And it is the struggles that we faced along the way that connect us, that can bring us into a room that when we first walked into, we may have thought that we were nothing more than strangers, but if you listen, you might just discover that we aren't all that different. Thank you. No, just one.
Well, things that motivate me most to write is when I'm really angry. When I have something to be outraged about. Because in the past, the way I would really handle a lot of situations was through anger. And I would use that anger to not just fuel words that I shouldn't be saying, but also fists that I would pound into people's faces. Oh, I'm not kidding you. I was raised to be a man. You know what a man is, right? A shell, emotionless person. You know? Thank you. And I'm not saying that that's what men are, but I'm saying there's a part of society that wants to raise us that way. And I was raised that way. And this led me down a really, really, really dark path. And so my story is a little bit different from Gabriel's. I think a lot of you may already know it. But while Gabriel struggled with cancer, I struggled with my own ability to love myself. I hated myself so much that I eventually started doing things I shouldn't do. And in fact, I started dealing drugs to people, especially to the people that I should have loved. And this resulted in the death of many of my friends my senior year of high school. 1998, my high school became known as Suicide High by national media. Nine people took their lives from that school that year. 5 were my friends. My friends who I didn't lift up. They were friends that I tore down. And so literally, because of this experience, it shook me awake. I realized I was lucky, that even though I was the worst of all of them, I wasn't buried in the earth. And that my best friend that same year, he was sentenced to prison. He died in prison about 3 years ago. And here I am. I was the worst. And I'm here today. And I am here today to raise a son who is going to be a real man. A real man with a real heart who isn't afraid to cry even when he watches Happy Feet. Like I did. It was in the first 3 minutes of the movie. I don't know what it was. Do you know what I'm talking about? There's something about as you get older, you start to let down and you start to realize how connected we are and how temporary things are and how quickly it might disappear. And I want my son to be that beautiful thing that I never felt like I was when I was young. As a matter of fact, he already is. I'll give you an example. I was cleaning my apartment one day, and I get really frantic about cleaning because if you can tell, I'm a perfectionist. See the hair? Okay, so I was cleaning my apartment, and my son was like bouncing off the couch and doing crazy things as a 3-year-old would, right? And then he stops randomly. He says, "Daddy, come here." And I was like, "Okay, yes." And I came down. And he goes, "Down." And I was like down in his face. He just took both of his hands, put them on both sides of my face, held it for a moment, stared me in the eyes, and goes, "You are so beautiful." And I was like, "Oh my God." You gotta be kidding me. I was like, where did he learn this from? Where has he learned all this from? And I went to a bunch of people. I was like, where did my son learn this from? And then they put their finger at me and they say, "Who do you think?" I was like, I always tell him how beautiful he is. So then he gave it back to me. The one thing I don't have yet that I do want to have in the future is a daughter. But I'm terrified as a dad to have a daughter. How many of you have a daughter? How many of you have a little girl? Look at that. Okay. You're claiming her. Okay. All right. Yeah, nice. So here's the thing. I'm a little terrified in this world to have a daughter because I've been a little upset with the way we have been positioning not just men to be these emotionless shells, but women too, and what we put on them in our media, in our magazines, in our television. I mean, it's angered me. It's angered me enough because I had an experience that I want to share with you. One that motivated my poem, that's brand new. Here it is. And I'll share it with you. So instead of punching people in the face like I used to, I punch them with my words. Thank you very much. One day I found a girl lying on the floor in the hallway, crying because someone called her fat and ugly. She was neither. So I told her that a recent study showed that women who carried a little extra weight lived longer than the men who mention it. So I wonder why all these magazines and TV ads show us images of women's bodies with just enough weight to be seen and photographed and stared at and coveted after. After all, we're all looking for approval. And somehow having a healthy amount of fat on your body has somehow become a flaw, like a gap between your teeth or the birthmark across your face. Media keeps trying to get us to erase these things that give us a little extra weight because they want you to believe that you are not enough, that you are not good enough as you are. So buy our products. Buy our makeup. Visit our tanner so you can feel thinner in skin made of leather. Look, you're only one step away from cancer, but don't look at the statistics. Look in the mirror and hate what you see. Even after you slave away on a treadmill and starve yourself of the things that you think will make you fat, our women are dying to look pretty. Daughters dying for our attention when our attention span is only as long as it would take to read a tweet and then we move on. That's what we've been taught to do. That enough is never enough. No matter how big, how bold, or how beautiful, our egos will always be larger, expanding with the litany of magazines and pop culture references that tell us we were not born beautiful, that we must shape ourselves like clay, and it sounds empowering. It sounds like we can take control of our destinies, of our minds, bodies, and spirits. But that's the trick the devil plays, telling you that you need the apple to be something better. So bite into it, and we buy into it, thinking an apple a day will keep men from going astray. See, there are too many women starving these days, whittling away to nothing but plastic, glue, and glitter, just so they can live the life they always dreamed of, they thought they always wanted, one with a husband, a home, and a little something called love. But we lost something along the way that we need if we're ever going to fall in love, and that's our hearts. They have been traded in for soulless trinkets, anti-wrinkle cream, and fashion trends that no one ever really cares about anyway. We just care about what others care about, and we live this way, criticizing women who carry a little extra weight, and even those who carry no weight at all, because nothing is ever good enough. And there's a promise that someone will point it out to you, the nose you need to fix, the breasts that need to be lifted, the tummy that needs to be tightened just a little bit more, and then it will be perfect. Almost perfect. But perfect is the enemy to great. Perfect is something we use to make sure that we are never happy with the results of our lives, because perfect doesn't even exist. It never has and never will. Not on the silver screen or in your beauty catalogs, because you'll never see the numbers that tell us the story of how many women are dying to be beautiful and how many men are dying right alongside them, hand in hand, partners who never feel good enough, always looking for a way to escape who they are and become something else. So our souls have become weightless, and our bodies empty vessels that just might look good on the outside but are rotting away on the inside, looking for love out there instead of finding it in here, inside, past the hairstyles and body lotion, there lies an ocean of red passion called blood that is more beautiful than any shade of skin I have ever seen, and it is in you, and you, and you. No matter how much weight you carry, we just have to look a little deeper inside ourselves to see what magazines have been hiding from us all this time. That we are not only good enough, but we are glamorous. We are worthy. And we are very much alive. So, to the girl there lying, crying on the floor, please open your eyes. Turn away from the mirror. Take off your mask and rise. Thank you.
Hero.
Cool? Yeah. All right. I like that. Let's empower them, right? And the thing is, the reality of this world is that I get trapped up in it too, right? Gabriel and I are here because we're not trying to say that we're perfect. We're not trying to say that we've got all this figured out. I mean, I'm really close. He's getting there. He's working every day.
Can't all be as good as you.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Well, I mean, anyway. So the reality of it being is that, even with the way that I dress and hold myself, when we ask audiences all the time about their assumptions about Gabriel and I before they even know who we are, it's amazing what they say. They'll say, Gabriel, maybe, if he has his glasses off, they call him a thug or a gangster or a or a tattoo artist. Isn't that crazy? Like this? Wait, take him off again. Oh my God! Yeah, no, it's like Clark Kent, right? But when he puts his glasses on, they say things like maybe computer nerd or
skateboarder.
Skateboarder, yeah. The kind of guy that waits like 2 days.
You don't mess it up. It was my favorite one.
What was it?
They said, looks like he would be standing in line for the midnight showing of The Hobbit. It's by far probably one of my favorite cards of all time. I laughed so hard.
Oh man, there's one actually even said, this is pretty daring because we asked people to be really, really frankly honest, said that they thought he was the lawn help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can imagine what type of community we were in.
Yeah. So we were in a pretty white bread community there. Now for me, people will always say that I'm arrogant almost every single time. I don't know why. Now get this.
Even she sees it.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying though. It's the style, the way I hold myself, the way I dress, because it was bred into me that this is what I need to be successful. And there are times where I still look in the mirror and I don't like what I see. There are times where I still doubt whether or not I am this person that I know inside, somewhere inside of me, I know that I'm a leader. I'm better than this. I know I was bred to do something more. All of us were. Every single one of us in this room was put here on this earth for a reason. I mean, truly, this is not a religious thing, this is not a spiritual thing, this is not a scientific thing, this is just the truth. There's a reason for everything. Maybe it's not the reason that we may not know, we may not be aware of it, but I'm telling you, it's there. And I feel for me that it's about moving past the images that we hold ourselves to, about realizing that we are bigger than our bodies, that we are something more.
A lot of times, when we do these we'll do workshops or we're getting asked out to come out and do a lot of leadership development now. And one of the biggest things that we've noticed is that people feel like their ability to be leaders or impactful are just outside of their reach. Because rather than like reaching for the stars, we have people reaching for stars on television. Does that make sense? Like, we have these people that now we are looking to that don't really do a whole lot, like you can have someone follow you around with a camera and then that makes you someone to try and look up to, and not a camera, a video camera. But what I mean to say is that we're a lot of times we're allowing people outside of the scope or realm of what we felt like we were capable of teach our kids what they're capable of, right? And so what we've talked to them about and what we're able to get out of them is like things that they really want to do and impactful, right? Like, so when I was in middle school, when I was in 7th grade, we had the career assessment day, right? And they bring in the binders and they're like,
special day.
Flip through this and let's write down the top 5 things that you want to be and let's figure out what you need to do, right? And I wanted to be a writer. That's what I wanted to do. And it wasn't in the book. And when I told my teacher, they said, yeah, well, but you might not make enough money doing that, so let's just find something that's in the book. And lo and behold, surprise, surprise, what were the top 5 things that you could imagine that kids wanted to be? Well, they didn't really look at what the job was. They just flipped through and looked at what the highest paying thing was, right? Because that's what is successful. That's how you determine where you're at and your status, and whether you're making a difference in the community or whatever is how much money you're making. And don't get me wrong, I would love to be a millionaire. I'm not saying anything wrong about, money can definitely help make things easier, and you can provide for other people. But what I'm saying is too often we're letting things outside of ourselves dictate our own capabilities.
Right.
You have the potential to make an impact in your community no matter what you do. Actually, recently, we are running a program with the court system, and we had a student who's doing really well. Okay? He made a mistake. He's doing everything that he needs to do in order to move past that. And through the program, we were able to get him into an apartment. Okay? Big step for this kid. And I reached out to the community and I said, listen, we have a young man who is, struggling, and they were literally sleeping on the floor in this apartment. They had nothing, like nothing. And I put out an ask and I just said, hey, I need some help. If you have anything in your house, it doesn't matter, use, could be whatever. Could you just maybe pass it along, and we'll come around, we'll pick everything up, we'll help this kid. And actually, Heidi was one of the people who donated one of the items, and I'll tell you what, it changed this kid's life, like literally. Like, it's so cool to watch an immediate impact of this, but just simply by being there with him and saying, hey, I'll ask for some help for you, and renting a truck for him and driving him around and picking all these things, I made an impact. Now that would be something that we would define as a leader. And so we started working on this piece, Kirk and I. It's a brand new piece. We haven't memorized it yet, but we're hoping to kind of incorporate it into our repertoire about this idea of what happens along the way from when we were kids and we thought anything was possible. You remember when you were like, I want to be Superman when I grow up, and it's like,
I wanted to be a hitman.
Yeah, you would. You would.
She's like,
yeah.
It's true,
and you kind of have this uninhibited ability to want to reach out or try to achieve anything, and along the way, too often, we have things that kind of take us down. Ken, what do you think some of the top things for leaders are? What do you think some of the top attributes are?
Well, I would give it.
Yeah, I know you would. That's why I asked you.
I think the biggest is self-awareness. I know what I can contribute.
that's right.
That's an amazing answer. I didn't pay him to say that. Because that's really what we're trying to help through our work. That's actually one of the things I said in the beginning. It's really about kind of knowing you and getting you back in touch with you. So we're going to perform this piece. It's a brand new piece. It's called The Hero Within.
Children are born with the most beautiful ability to believe that anything is possible.
With a bowl full of Captain Crunch, a seat on the living room floor, and a healthy dose of Saturday morning cartoons, they are able to imagine a day when they can become heroes, just like the ones they see on TV. And they certainly don't have all the answers.
Maybe they don't have any at all, but they sure do ask all the right questions, like how can a towel become a cape?
Or how can a blanket become a fortress?
Or how come you look so tired when you come home from work?
Because at some point, we all grow up.
And too often our imagination becomes a distant memory, and we wake up in a cubicle with just enough space to realize
that our dreams have no room to squeeze in next to our computer screens. And our cartoons have been replaced by emails.
And instead of catching bad guys, we're just trying to catch up on all the work from yesterday.
Asking questions like, where did the time go?
And is it too late to get it back? The days we spent dreaming of becoming heroes have been left behind.
And we wonder why so many of us are still trying to find ourselves looking in the mirror,
trying to find out where we turned wrong
on the map
we once thought we had planned out towards happiness.
We've taken on the occupations we thought we had to. I guess heroes don't have that many job openings these days. Because when you grow up, you get serious.
You get busy.
You make a living doing something that might not make you feel alive inside, so we do our best to simply survive. And there is a difference.
Because when we were little kids,
we lived.
Sometimes we lived the lives of made-up characters, yes, like superheroes or TV stars. But Most of us just wanted to be happy.
to find our passion and help people. We didn't worry about making anything. We just lived believing that there was a place in this world for us.
That we were put here on the earth to do something.
That we were heroes in our own rights, and we were right to believe it, to figure out what was most important to us and become the leaders we were always born to be.
That's the question we all want to know the answer to. To know what makes your heart beat, and better yet, to know what makes it skip a beat.
Because somewhere along the way, we got taken off the beaten path by fear or uncertainty.
Or the ill opinions of outsiders that place doubt in your mind that you can be whatever you want to be.
And if the words we speak today don't ring true for you, then don't be swayed by our opinion either. Find your own truth, the one that will lead you to the path that was meant for you.
The path that will help you realize the hero within yourself and find your own answers.
So let's get back to the part about living.
Instead of the part about making, and let's start today.
Maybe with a bowl filled with cereal and childlike hope.
A seat on the floor in a house filled with creativity.
Because as children, we bounced right back up when we fell. A few tears and a hug was all we needed to get past our failures. We never let them slow us down, let alone stop us.
This wasn't our destiny. We weren't supposed to become numb to our own happiness,
To our own power,
to our own potential to become leaders. But it's not too late. And if you have a heartbeat and two hands,
you can achieve anything. And if you can't use your arms, then use your voice.
And if you can't speak, then do sign language with your toes. Don't let them convince you that you have limits.
that there's an invisible ceiling over your head that you can't push through.
Children would never accept that as an answer. They would just ask you why. Why is the sky blue?
Why don't you have recess anymore? Why have you stopped believing in yourself?
As children, we had too much resiliency to hold on to back then, and it's time we bring that back like it was when we were kids.
And no matter how many times they told you no, you came back again and again until at last you got the yes that you were looking for, and you earned it.
You deserved it, and you still do. No matter what anyone has ever said to you, because what you say to yourself is most important.
So let's honor the child in all of us, the one who used to drip milk all over the kitchen table while slurping up the last drop from the bowl.
Daydreaming about the things you were always meant to be. This life is not about giving up on what we once dreamed of, but about giving in to who we are intended to become.
So even if you are the shortest or tallest person on your block, it doesn't matter because there's a hero outfit just your size hanging inside the closet of your chest. So tear it open, take it out,
try it on and take a risk.
dare yourself to leave an impact and become the hero you always knew that you were destined to be. Thank you. 10 minutes. You want to do 2 pieces or 1 piece? It's up to you.
How you doing? Okay, so like one of you is alive. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. Beautiful. So, you know, Gabriel and I, we really have come a long way, and especially me. When I first met Gabriel, I was a pretty closed down dude. I was pretty closed, not very open at all, you know. I had a lot of things that I was still really working through, and actually being close to another human being was very difficult for me. To actually trust another human being and be that close and actually allow someone else into my life was very, very, very difficult for me. And it was so difficult, in fact, with Gabriel that when I first met him, I was kind of startled because we were competing against each other. And I didn't like him. I mean, look at him.
It's a lot of envy, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know.
Can I try your hat on?
No.
Okay. It wouldn't fit me anyway. So the reality of it being is that I really was so closed down that I couldn't really acknowledge what he was trying to give me at the time. So after we got done competing against each other, which by the way he won, he cheated, and he came up,
poetry.
he came up to congratulate me with a man hug. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Do you know what a man hug is?
No.
Okay, it's when one man hugs another man.
Also known as a hug, if that's confusing to anybody.
For me, that was like, you know, this is, men do not do that. Men do not hug in my family. So this is what happened. I mean, he comes up and he's like, hey man, I just want to congratulate you. And I was like, hey man, what? He comes right up to me and he's like, he just starts coming in here. He has no respect for boundaries at all. Just comes right in and he's like, hey. And I'm like, ah! And he puts his arms all the way around me. I swear I can, I can feel his facial hair touch my face. I was like, what is this? And then he's holding on to me for a moment. This is totally true. And then he goes like this. He goes,
No.
oh yeah.
No. Let me tell you something. That was 8 years. 8 years ago. For 8 years, he has been telling this story, and
It was
every year he adds like one more thing to it. Like in like 1 or 2 more years, I'm almost sure he's gonna be like, and then he wrapped his leg around me. And
Actually, I probably should add that.
yeah.
Gabriel's like,
Yeah. I honestly, the reality of the story, he was literally.
no.
Yes, this is the truth.
I don't remember.
He was sitting like this at the table. He was mad. Okay, he had anger issues. He was mad like this, and I came up behind him.
I was mad because I screwed up.
I came up behind him and I was like, "Hey, man," I was like, "It's okay. You did a great job."
You grabbed me from behind?
yeah. Add that to the element. There you go. Yeah.
Hey, man. To me, that's a chokehold. That's scary. Okay, no, but the reality is I like sharing this story because, I mean, I was so closed down. I mean, I could barely experience or love life. It's taken me every ounce of my being to now I can hug. I mean, that's a big deal for me. I'm telling you, because I was a kid that didn't have a childhood. I was a kid that had that taken away, was made to not trust or not like the people in my life who were supposed to love me. And here comes this guy that challenges me. I thought I had my whole life figured out. I was 26 years old when I met him. I had a house. I had a car. I had a full-time job. I had 14 perfectly kept hanging baskets in my yard.
We used to have to schedule our work around his lawn care.
Okay, shut up. So, I'm
serious.
I'm very obsessive compulsive about those things. And I needed all this control and all this order because on the inside, I felt totally chaotic. And because I felt chaotic and I hated what was going on in here, I had to keep everything else in my life in order. I remember in 2006, as a teacher, and I loved teaching, I came home from work so exhausted, so upset, so sad, that I remember lying on the floor, like crying hard enough, you know, where you're snotting, where you're like, it's one of those moments that you're glad no one YouTubed you. You know, you're like, you know, like really crying, like gut-wrenching, soul-wrenching crying, and I just wanted to die, like literally. And here I was, so many years later, having made through everything I made through in high school, having transformed myself, and I was in my 20s in 2006, and I wanted to die. And here I was making an impact on my students, and I wanted to leave this earth because I wasn't liking what was going on in here. I share this with you because, man, I wanted to give up. I mean, haven't we all wanted to give up? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And as you get older, you keep finding ways to be like, man, I just want to give up. And it doesn't mean giving up on life. It could be giving up on the job, giving up on that person, giving up on your child, giving up on your marriage. Giving up. That's what we do. And I'm telling you, the one thing that I'm gaining through my time with working with Gabriel and the poetry and the words is not to give up. To persist. No matter what, even if you know you're going to end up in the same spot many years from now, you and I are going to end up 6 feet below. You and I are going to be there. Even knowing that, I'm going to move forward. I'm going to continue to put my one foot in front of the other because I don't know how long I have here. And while I'm here, I'm going to leave an impact.
That's one of the beautiful things that I learned from the struggles that I went through, you know, is being appreciative for what we have. So I have this huge scar. Essentially, it really does look like I had an autopsy. And every day when I wake up, you know, you kind of go through your routine. And one of the first things I do in the morning is I go into the bathroom. And I have a mirror there. And so every day, one of the first things that I see when I wake up is this huge scar that runs down my body. It's literally impossible for me to miss every single day. And it is like almost one of the best ways to start my day off. Because, it's like not every day I want to get up and I'm like excited about everything, I love my job, so that helps. But some days I struggle. But just catching a glimpse of that is enough to remind me how grateful I am to be here and to take advantage of the day that I have, because I really don't know. When I was 21 years old, I got a clean bill of health. I battled cancer for 3 years. And they told me that I had a 65% chance of getting leukemia in the next 15 to 20 years, which is one of the reasons why I do what I do today. Because I knew that my time was limited and I wanted to be happy for as long as I was here. And I remember a very specific moment where I really wanted to give up when I was about halfway through my battle with cancer, and I called my father on the phone. My father's a nurse in New York. And I said, I don't know if I can do it anymore. I'm just exhausted. I'm constantly tired. I'm physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, I'm done. I just want to lay down and leave. I don't even want to put any effort into giving up, And he said, son, you may not understand this right now, but I promise you, through my life experience, I believe this to be true. That things happen to you in your life to help you see something that you're missing. And if you run from it right now, if you pull away from it, or you escape from it, or you hide from it, you're going to miss it, and it's going to have to come back and teach you again. So if you just stay present right now when it feels really bad, you won't have to go through it again. You may have a different one later, but you won't have to learn that same message. And it's really been one of the focuses for us, is that's what's really connected us. He kind of jokes that we didn't like each other, but we really didn't like each other.
No, like really.
Because we were
like
so
really.
different. We came from such different backgrounds. And the reason why we dress like this today is because this is how we dressed when we met. We didn't color coordinate, but
I was just getting out of, class from teaching. My sleeves were always rolled up. My tie had always been undone.
And I was finishing up my undergrad, so I was coming in whatever was most comfortable for me to sit through class. And we really appeared to be in completely two different worlds. We talked differently, we listened to different music, we liked to do different things. He was married and focusing on a career, and I was trying to figure out.
Did you catch that?
Yeah. I was trying to figure out what I was, going to do with my life, but the thing that really helped shape our movement forward was that when we realized that when you take away all the easily discernible ways of separating ourselves, that underneath all that we were very much connected in the things that we had been through and the ways that we wanted to affect change.
You're never as alone as you think you are.